The Disappearance of Susan Powell. Welcome to another chilling episode of Echoes of Unknown. I'm your host, Ryan, and tonight, we step into a case that has haunted investigators, reporters, and the public for over a decade, a case tangled in secrecy, suspicion, and an unsettling web of family dynamics. This is the story of Susan Powell, a loving mother who vanished into the cold December night, leaving behind a trail of unsettling questions and eerie discoveries. What happened to Susan Powell? Was she the victim of domestic violence, a carefully orchestrated crime, or something even darker? Tonight, we dive deep into one of America's most perplexing missing person cases, one that remains unsolved to this day. At first glance, Susan Powell seemed to have the ideal life. She was a bright, ambitious woman who had married Joshua Powell in 2001. Together, they built a life in West Valley City, Utah, raising two young sons, Charlie and Braden. But behind the closed doors of their suburban home, Susan's life was far from perfect. Friends and family recall a deeply troubled marriage. Susan, a devout Latter-day Saint, was the primary breadwinner while Josh frequently changed jobs, drained their finances, and exhibited controlling behaviors. According to Susan's journals and conversations with friends, Josh kept a tight grip on their money, restricted her from making decisions, and had an increasingly erratic temperament. He would often belittle her and disregard her wishes, creating an environment of emotional strain and fear. But perhaps the most unsettling factor in their lives was Josh's father, Stephen Powell. Stephen harbored an unhealthy obsession with Susan, recording disturbing videos and writing explicit journals about his infatuation. In 2009, Susan confided in friends that she feared for her safety. She even wrote a letter, hidden away in her belongings, stating, "If I die, it may not be an accident." December 6, 2009. It was a seemingly normal winter evening. Susan and her family attended church earlier in the day, and by nightfall, a heavy snowstorm was blanketing West Valley City. That night, Susan spoke with a friend over the phone and was reported to be feeling ill. She decided to rest at home while her husband, Josh, claimed he took their two sons, ages 4 and 2, on a spontaneous camping trip in the middle of the freezing Utah winter. When co-workers noticed Susan failed to show up for work the following morning, alarm bells rang. Calls to her phone went unanswered. Friends grew concerned, and police were soon called to the Powell residence. What they found was disturbing. Susan's purse, phone, and wallet were all inside the house, untouched. There were no signs of forced entry, no obvious struggle, but something was very wrong. Josh Powell didn't return home until later that afternoon, claiming he had been out camping with his young sons. The problem? The temperatures that night were below freezing, and no rational person would have taken small children on such an excursion. His alibi was as baffling as it was suspicious. From the start, Josh's behavior raised red flags. He was emotionless, dismissive, and strangely indifferent about Susan's disappearance. He failed to cooperate fully with law enforcement, refused polygraph tests, and later packed up and moved to Washington State with his sons to live with his father, Stephen Powell. As investigators dug deeper, troubling details emerged. Computer forensics revealed that Josh had recently searched for information on murder and disposal methods. Detectives also found a mysterious wet stain in the family's living room carpet, suggesting that something had been recently cleaned up. And then came another bombshell: Susan's secret safety deposit box. Inside, police found handwritten letters detailing her fears of Josh. In one chilling entry, she described how she was preparing for the worst, fearing that he might kill her. She even recorded a video of her home, documenting assets, almost as if she anticipated a future legal battle, or worse. If Josh Powell's behavior was troubling, his father's was downright terrifying. Stephen Powell, an outwardly eccentric but seemingly harmless man, was obsessed with Susan. When authorities searched his home in 2011, they found thousands of disturbing images, voyeuristic photographs of women and children, and videos he had secretly recorded of Susan. Stephen was later arrested and convicted on charges of child pornography and voyeurism, but no evidence directly linked him to Susan's disappearance. With every new discovery, the case became more sinister. Were Josh and Stephen working together? Did Stephen's disturbing fixation on Susan play a role in her disappearance? And most importantly, where was Susan? By 2012, investigators still had no concrete evidence linking Josh to Susan's disappearance, but Child Protective Services had seen enough. They removed Charlie and Braden from Josh's custody and placed them with Susan's parents, Chuck and Judy Cox. Josh was furious. He fought for custody, but the courts insisted he undergo a psychological evaluation before regaining access to his children. Then, on February 5, 2012, the unthinkable happened. During a supervised visitation, Josh lured his sons inside his home, locked the social worker out, and set off an explosion, killing himself and his 2 innocent children. It was a final, horrific act. A desperate attempt to destroy any lingering secrets. In his final moments, Josh left behind a simple message to his family. "I'm sorry. Goodbye." To this day, Susan Powell's body has never been found. Some believe Josh buried her in the Utah desert. Others think he may have disposed of her remains in an abandoned mine. And then, there are those who believe Stephen Powell knew more than he ever admitted. As we close this chapter, we are left with haunting questions. What really happened that night? Did Josh Powell act alone? Did his father help cover up a crime? And most importantly, will we ever find Susan? Her case remains open, her story unfinished. And so, the mystery of Susan Powell lingers, an unsolved tragedy echoing through the cold night of December 2009. Thank you for listening to Echoes of Unknown. If you have any theories about what happened to Susan Powell, let us know on social media. If you found this episode chilling, be sure to subscribe and join us next time as we uncover more of the world's most unsettling mysteries. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and never stop searching for the truth.